Welcome. In this video, we're going to cover 1040X, which stands for Amended Tax Returns, Form 8863 for education credit, and SS-4 for people who you're going to help them put together employee identification number. And we're going to go over some other information in this video as well. I'm on the IRS page, and like I said, if anything you're not clear about, don't forget to make irs.gov your #1 go-to site for information. But what we're going to cover first is the education credit. And see, on the website, it has a tool that you can use to see if people qualify for the credit if you're not sure. And so you click on this button here, and it's going to take you to another page, and it's going to ask you a series of questions. So if you got a client sitting with you or over the phone and you're on this page, you click begin and you go through the series of questions. You ask them the series of questions. If they can answer the questions and give you the information you need, you can determine why they're on the phone or why they're with you, if they're eligible for education credit. And so that's just a tool that at your disposal to use when in doubt, or you want to prove to them visually that they don't qualify, opposed to them taking your word for it. Basically, I give you criteria on who qualify and who don't, but if somebody wants to challenge you on that, then you take them to the irs.gov website and go to that tool and carry them through the process of answering the different questions that's going to allow them to see for themselves if they qualify. So that's how you'll do that if you're being challenged on the education credit. Because a lot of these things have different tools you can use on irs.gov website to see if people qualify for different credits or deductions or things of that nature. So you want to utilize that. When it comes to education credit, which is the 8863, which is this form here, mainly this is called American Opportunity Credit and the Lifetime Credit. And so for people who go to school for themselves, or B, paying for their dependents to go to school, and the parents' income is too high, and the student or themselves don't qualify for scholarships or grants, and they're actually paying out of pocket for them to go to school every semester, then yeah, they qualify for the credit. But if someone else is paying for the education, like scholarships and grants, then they won't qualify for the education credit, because it was only intended for people who were not paying for their, it was only intended for people who paying for their own education out of their own pockets. And so that's the overview and the basic gist of that. So if they don't understand that concept, it ain't too much to walk them through when it comes to that. And when it comes to filling out this form, we start at the back of the form, because the form has been revised different times. So we ask them a series of questions first to see if they even qualify to even apply for the credit. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, having a 1098-T, which is the tuition statement that they receive from the institution that they attend, is only part of the initial interview process on if they qualify for the education credit. So having a 1098-T tuition statement doesn't automatically qualify you for the education credit. That, along with a series of questions that we ask you, will determine if you qualify to take the education credit at all. And like I said, if your parents paying for you to go to school and you're not receiving any scholarships or grants, and they paying for the tuition and fees and all that for you to go there out of their pocket, then yeah, they qualify to take the education credit on their tax return for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically how they go. So if that's not the case, then it's no need to fill out this form. You know, so that's the bottom line on that. The next form we're going to talk about is called SS-4, which is an application for employee identification number. So this is the paper version or the electronic version of what you would actually fill out for a client who wants to get their employee identification number that's going to be part of their business that they're putting together. And so a lot of times we use the online version, but we still need to do the paper version because we need to have a physical copy of this filled out with their signature on it and giving us the authority to create the application on their behalf and all that. So we still need the paper version. We need them sign off on it. We need a copy in our hand, in our files. They need a copy in their files. You know, but we basically use the online version of this form, and we take them through a series of quick prompts that the online version asks you, which is basically the same thing as the paper version asks. But the only difference, the significant difference is if you actually sitting with a client and walking them through them preparing their own SS-4, then they can print out the actual letter right then and there. But if you physically sitting down and you going through the process of filling out this form for them, then you are considered a third-party designee, which means that they won't get the full version right then and there. The IRS will sit on that to their home, but what you will be able to see is the actual employee identification number that will show up on the screen, and basically you'll print that out or write it down so they can have that number to use immediately for whatever purpose they may need it for, and the IRS will send them the actual letter to their home whenever they decide to get to making sure that happens. So that's the difference between you filling it out for them and them sitting there filling out themselves with your guidance. You know, so that's basically how the SS-4 works. The IRS recommend that you operate a business under your EIN number and not your social. And so for people who are sole proprietors, meaning that's the most simplest form of ownership you can have as far as being a business, and that's basically for people who self-employed. They fall under sole proprietorship, or small business owners who work for themselves, who have incorporated their business. They can use their social, but the IRS recommends that you create an employee identification number so you can use that number to operate your business with, so you can separate your business from yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the goal, is you must have a separate business account and a separate personal account so the IRS can be able to track the results you have inside your business when it comes to being in business. And so the big issue with the IRS and the government in general is anything they can't track, it's an issue for. So they want to know how you operate in your business and how you separate business from personal. So that's why you should have a business account for business and you should have a personal account for personal. And so this is the electronic version of the employer's identification number that you would fill out for the client, either on their behalf or guiding them through the process of filling out on their own. Either way, the option is up to you to figure out. And so that's what that's all about. The next form is called 1040X. And this form stands for Amended U.S. Individual Income Tax Return. This form here is basically for people who either A, forgot to put something on the form and want to add it, or B, need to make a correction on the form, or C, take something off the form. You know what I'm saying? And so, say for instance, you had 3 kids and you was at the tax office and you only had information for 2, and you decide just to process the 2 and do the 3rd one later, then you would come back with the information for the 3rd child. They would add the child to this original return, which will generate a 1040X, and you would pay another fee for that unless they include that as part of their service based on who you went to get your taxes prepared from. And so basically that's how the 1040X works. It's a form that we use either to add something, correct something, or take something off. And so this is the form itself, and these are the series of questions it asks. And the difference between filling out the form through the tax software and filling out the form by hand is that you get a better understanding of what you're doing when it comes to learning income taxes. And by learning how to do it by hand, you get to go through the step-by-step process of each line and what the different questions are, and make sure you answer these questions correctly and that you understand what the questions are asking. So you get a better understanding of how to prepare individual income taxes when you learn it by hand. And so that's the way I teach it. And so this form is for that purpose only. Another thing is, back to the IRS website, like I say, they have some changes coming up in 2019 for the 2018 tax season. The 1040 form is being modified. It's not ready yet for release. And so until they release that and have it ready, basically I can't do a video on that yet until they come up with the final version of what the 1040 form going to look like for the upcoming season. And so as soon as they do that, as soon as I can do a form on that, do a video for that one. But for all the other supporting forms that we went through, I'll do a video on those. I'll do some more videos on self-employed individuals and the different types of self-employed individuals and what that's going to look like for us. You actually having a client who cuts hair versus somebody who do nails versus someone who is a carpenter versus someone who's in real estate versus someone who's in insurance versus someone who's selling products or services. So, I'll do several different Schedule C's, profit and loss and business tax returns. So you'll get to see what that looks like and how to fill those specific self-employed individual business returns out for the clients that you're going to run into over the upcoming season and beyond. So basically in this video, we covered 3 different types of forms along with some other information dealing with the tax season in general. And so I'll be uploading this to the YouTube so you can check it out. And I'll be doing another video or 2 over the next few days. And so I'll see you in the next video.